to another episode of the Fanzone podcast. Your home for all things Bolton Wanderers, up the Trotters, the Northwest's #1 podcast.
Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, whatever time you're listening to the Fanzone podcast. For those of you listening live, it's 1 minute past 8. I am 60 seconds behind schedule, so I do apologise. A little bit of a technical glitch before we went live, and Dan decided to kick himself out of the chat, and we don't really know why. This is the beauty of course, live podcasting. Tonight you're joined by myself and Ange. How are you, Ange?
I mean, I'm fine. I don't know what's happened to Dan, but I'm here. We're well.
I'm sure we'll get an explanation in 3, 2, 1, go. Dan, what happened then?
I went to click a comment and it just logged me out. I'll be honest. So, Craig Brooks, although you're in Florida, you've just kicked me out of Edgeworth, mate. But nice to have you with us, pal.
Indeed, nice to have every single one of you with us so far this evening. Of course, all of the channel members and everybody else in between. Good evening, good evening, good evening. Of course, Wanderers managed to pick up a vital 3 points yesterday after a shambolic first half performance. But let's not dwell on that. Let's get into the post-match reactions, sponsored by, of course, our friends at Johnson's Tiling. As mentioned, 3 goals to 2, 3 points, 3-point podcast, all that good stuff. Dan, I'll start with you. Are we beginning to see what we have at our disposal in Mr. Schumacher in terms of that tactical nous, that ability to be able to think on his feet and change things at the drop of a hat? Everything that we can generally see on the sidelines, but our previous manager often couldn't. What are your thoughts on that and your overall about yesterday, please?
Well, I'll start by saying I think he got the team wrong yesterday. I think arguably our 3 better players at the moment were all on the bench in Tutu, Sean and Sheehan. I'm not afraid to say that. But equally, I think that the first half was evident. We missed Sheehan in that midfield on the pivot. And I thought Murphy again looked like a bit of a duck out of water. But had that been the predecessor, he'd have stuck with that. The stubborn man that he is, and we'd have gone on and lost that game. So credit where credit's due. He changed it again mid-game. Changed the system again mid-game. And do you know what's the best thing about Schumacher at the minute for me is these post-match interviews. He's an absolute breath of fresh air. There's no cliched nonsense. There's no covering it up. There's no low block XGs, all them jargony words and phrases. It's just first 30 minutes we were rubbish. And we were. So there's absolutely no covering that. But yeah, I thought that to turn it round again is fantastic, but we need to start taking leads in games. This isn't going to carry on forever, is it, where we can spin it round? But we'll take 3 points where we can take 3 points at the moment, and let's try and get a bit of a run together heading into that difficult March.
Yeah, absolutely. Just on him getting the team wrong that you've touched upon, I listened to Gareth Ainsworth after yesterday's game, who I thought was honest, and I really like the bloke personally, but he alluded to the fact that they changed it themselves. He said that he got it wrong in the start because ordinarily they've been starting with a 5 at the back, and they started the game yesterday with a 4, and that correlated with what Schumacher said, because he said that they didn't start how they expected. So you are right. You may be personnel-wise, they might have got things wrong, but I think there was a combination of that, as well as the fact that obviously they tried to kind of counteract what Shrewsbury were planning on doing. And that's just an observation, listening to the 2 managers really and trying to line them things up. Ange, instead of talking to me about the game, talk to me about some individual performances. Of course, we've got the man of the match to come, but Mr. McAtee stepped up, didn't he?
Oh, he did. Bless him. I mean, he gives it his all. Every time he puts that shirt on, he absolutely gives it his all, and it's just not been quite clicking for him, and he's played everywhere on the pitch. And yesterday, that's going to have done him the absolute world of good yesterday. He took his goals very well. I do agree with Dan that Mr. Murphy looked a little bit iffy first half, but when he changed the formation second half, he was so much better. I know Dan said about thinking he got the team wrong potentially to start with, but I'd said to you, Colin, when we were there, I was quite excited that we had to come off the bench, and that could actually, when they're starting to flag, you bring in Sean, Sheehan and Tutu on, and it's an absolute game changer having those three on the bench. So, I mean, he could have been thinking that rather than, but I know what you mean. We need to be starting to lead from the front and be getting the first goals, putting the games to bed a bit earlier. But individual performances, I thought first half there wasn't any really good performances. First half they were all a bit limp. But then it absolutely all clicked second half. They had a bit of a rocket, I reckon, at half time. We were speaking about this when we started that second half, and you said you thought he probably was the first time they might have had a bit of a rollicking off.
I think so, Ange. Yeah, I think that was his fourth game in charge yesterday, and I can't really envision, over this past 4 games that other than yesterday, where he'd give him a right good rollicking. I would imagine. I would have liked to have been a fly on the wall at half time, put it that way, and I reckon they got one, which I think obviously give them a kick up the behind, innit?
Yeah, absolutely. And I absolutely, my most favourite player this season is Sebi Sean. Love the boy. He's so infectious. He absolutely loves it. He loves the club. He loves playing football, you can tell. And yeah, he's got quite a bit of work to do defensively, but I think he's potentially got a great player on our hands there when it all kind of comes together for him.
Yeah, just touching upon the players picked and whatnot. I want to try and listen, you do what the hell you want, all of you, but as an observation, players aren't dropped. He's trying to find his best 11, but I do think even when he knows his best 11, we're always going to have players coming in and out that we might not necessarily expect. He's adapting in it. He's not just his way or the highway like his predecessor.
And he said that, hasn't he? He said that it'll be kind of a horses for courses type situation with players, which is what I'd said previous seasons ago on the pod, that we didn't seem to have that with Everett, where it'd be the same midfielder. You're like, oh. So yeah, no, I'm excited now for the rest of the season. I am.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think with starting Geff and Murphy at fullbacks, to me, from the start, made sense, because obviously these lot were going to offer more of a threat early. But I just don't think it gave us much of an outlet, did it, going forward? That was a bit of an issue. But like I said, it was nice to have them options coming off the bench. Thank you so very much to the 113 people currently watching live. Please do get your comments in the chat. Continue to do that. Like, subscribe, and all that really good stuff. It does help us massively grow the podcast. We are trying to get as many eyes on not only the podcast, but the sleep out, which we're doing, which we're really, really keen to try and promote as best we can. So yeah, we're going to have a little bit of a plug of that, aren't we, Ange? What do you reckon?
Laughter. Yeah, so for the second year running, we are once again supporting the Big Sleep Out hand in hand with Bolton Wonders in the community. And we need your help. So we've managed to get ourselves a little team together this year. And Laura Withall, who's in... Yes, you do, Laura, really need to do the sleep out. So Laura Withall, Andy Gilbanks, Alex Murphy, the boxer, not the defender, and his lovely Mrs. Grace, and Lou Davis are currently sleeping out with us. Jordan Hookaway is supporting us in another way, which is great, and that will be revealed at some point.
Oh, that's exciting, isn't
sure
it?
When.
That's exciting.
That's up to HR. But yeah, we raised so much money. Was it about 1,600 we got last year? And
yeah, they're in thereabouts, yeah.
We really, 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 really want to better that. When we do these things, we always want to be better than we have been. So if you could just drop us a couple of quid, or when it gets to payday, if you could drop us a tenner or something, that would be absolutely magnificent. But yeah, if you want to join us, if you want to come sleep out in the stadium under the stars, fingers crossed it's not peeing down, then let us know and you can join our team.
Yeah, like I said on the last one, it's an unbelievable experience. I'm not doing it this year. I didn't like it at all, if I'm honest with you. I don't really want to put myself through it again. I'm going to be donating, of course I am. Support the guys as much as I can. I'd encourage you all to do the same. But yeah, if you want to try and brave the cold, I really would encourage you to do so, because it makes you think about life in a slightly different way once you've done it, and in a positive way, as you can only imagine. So yeah, as I said already, we have had a couple of decent performances yesterday individually. iHeat do a great job of sponsoring this wonderful segment, which is a little bit more enjoyable than it has been in previous weeks, hasn't it? So thank you very much for the support, guys, and let's get your comments of your opinions of man of the match in the chat, and my trusty assistant Dan, Mr. Sumner, will bring them to view.
Oh, I couldn't get off mute. I felt like I was at work then. So, lads and lasses, like Colin said, get your votes for man of the match in the chat as we go around the panel and see who we think we're going to give it to. There's a few shouts to me, so I'm not sure which way it's going to go this week. Should we start with Mr. Sumner?
Yeah, I would absolutely love to give it to Owen Toll for that 25-yard screamer and an assist on his birthday. I just thought, and boy, have we missed him. Not just yesterday, but at right centre-back position is just Owen. And I just think that armband suits him. I really do. I think that he should retain that even if Thomason gets back in. And that is an if at the moment, not a when. So although I'd love to give it Tolley, I think that somebody else who grafted his proverbials off since the start of the season has had his fair share of pelters, played in every position apart from in goal, I think, but has really capped off his love for the club and his desire and his commitment with 2 well-earned goals yesterday. So for me, it's John McAtee.
Good shout. Colin, who you having?
Goes by the name of McAtee. He is my man of the match, but I want to give, again, special mention to Owen Toll. But also, and I mentioned this to Mark Isles because I thought he was a bit harsh on his opinions on Jay Matete. I thought Jay Matete was, in the first half, probably the only player that looked like he were giving some, trying to drive forward, trying to break up play. Nothing really were happening for a whole side, but certainly the second half, even more so, he was driving forward with the ball and looking for options and using the ball at the right time. And I thought it was really, really good yesterday. And I mean, again, it's all opinions in it, but I think he deserves a special shout. But yeah, I mean, he scored 2 goals, didn't he? And very nearly got a hat trick because I think his mate Shawnee tried to set him up for a hat-trick, didn't he? But didn't quite make the pass. But yeah, really good performance by Mr. McAtee and 2 goals that he's deserved for his hard work in recent weeks as well.
I mean, he could have had a hat-trick with that header that keeper saved. So
yeah, I forgot about that, to be fair.
Before that. So yeah, he was properly on fire yesterday, was Mr. McAtee. And the chat is completely, it's all Toll and McAtee. I don't think there's anything else, is there? So a quick squeeze through. But yeah, so as tempted as I would be, like Dan said, to give it to the birthday boy, I'm going to have to give it to John McAtee this week, aren't we?
Yeah. Do any opinions on his overall game? Because for me, it wasn't just his ability to score the goals he did yesterday, and his movement was pretty good as well. But I thought his back-to-goal work was a lot better than previous weeks. Did that get picked up on telly, Dan? Because I know that you didn't make the trip yesterday.
Yeah,
did you watch it, or was it doing shopping or something?
It did, to be fair. And I think since we've let Charles go, I think he's taken that role of harrying down as well a lot more. I think he's high press and
it's not his game, that though, is it? Really,
it's not really his game, no. But I think he's taken that on because I think that's what we needed. whether that's an instruction or a tactic or whether that's just him. But equally as well, he's the first one to grab the ball out the back of the net and rally the crowd when we get an equaliser or we pull a goal back. So I just think, Bolton born and bred, isn't he? I don't know if he's a Bolton fan. I don't know, but I think he probably is. But I don't know. He's probably a red.
Don't go there with that. Let's move on. Just move on.
Okay. Who does he support? Because can I change man of the match?
Just move on. Doesn't matter. Just move on. Just read the room, Dan. Come on, mate. Read the room.
I don't know. Do I want to know?
I think you can probably guess.
Is it red?
You get. Yeah, he's red. Let's just move on. Just get on with it.
Toll's my man of the match.
No. Yeah. People might not know that, but they now do. Please don't change your perception of him because he doesn't work hard and he scored 2 goals yesterday. So,
And he works really hard and he loves that. You can tell he's loving it. So it doesn't matter who he supports. None of them support Bolton. What does it matter?
No,
I'll let HR know the man of the match.
Please do. Right, okay, we've got a massive game next week, and I can't believe I'm saying this, against Leyton Orient, the might that is. One that we have to win for obvious reasons. Massive, massive, massive game. Let's cast our minds back to last season and seasons before. Where does this rank, guys in the chat, and guys and girls in the chat as well, sorry. Is it on a par with, like, say, for example, Portsmouth last season when we went to Fratton Park? Is it that type of level of importance, this game? Where does it rank if you can try and cast your minds back? Either of you.
Oh, are you talking to us? You're talking to the
Not
chat.
just you. You're on the podcast, Ange.
No, I think this is a really big one. They're all bloody big at me at the minute, but they have an informed side at the minute, and we've got to. But Shrewsbury were at home, so if we can keep knocking a peg out of those informed teams, for me, then it's one game at a time in it, and let's just go into it as we have done with the new gaffer in. Get behind the boys. Get behind the boys.
I'm feeling a similar thing to what Matthew said about the Derby game last season. I think it feels a bit like that type of importance, doesn't it? Although I have seen a comment from BWFC 714 and mentioned Richie Wellens is one of the favourites for the Blackburn job. So maybe distracted or even managerless by this coming weekend. Listen, we just got to do our own thing, haven't we, regardless of whether he's in charge or not. But I can see that link. Obviously, it's Manchester lad, isn't he, Richie Wellens? But get a championship job, a team who's in the top 6. I don't know about that. I don't know whether he'd be ready for that. Dan, what do you reckon on that one, mate?
Yeah, I don't like Wellens at all. I really don't like Wellens at all. But if there's one club he's matched to, it's Blackburn.
Is it the highest he's ever managed? League One's the highest he's ever managed, isn't it, Wellens?
So yeah, he brought Swindon up, didn't he, with Owen Doyle. Then he's obviously been at Salford. And he thinks he's better than he is, doesn't he? Because I remember he pitched himself for our job, didn't he, saying he could get us promoted. But going back to the point, I think if there's a club that he's probably matched to, it'd be Blackburn, because they are a mess, aren't they? Let's be honest. It's quite clear with John Dal Thomason and John Eustace leaving that they don't give the managers any assurances and don't give them any backing as to why they've lost them 2 managers. So if there's someone that can go up there and potentially try and do the job and take the job. I mean, because again, they might be in the top 6, top 10 at the minute in the Championship, but there's a lot more to it than that, especially if John Eustace is leaving to go to Derby County, lowly Derby County.
Yeah, I mean, that is a mad decision, isn't it, from the outside looking in, to leave Blackburn in the top 6 to Derby, or like, 22nd or something like that. Absolutely.
Yeah, of course. I mean, he played for Derby.
And they got pasted, didn't they?
And they got hammered 4-0 Friday night. It's a great start to his managerial career. But, again, John Eustace has been there and done it at many, many clubs. And obviously, to be fair to Wells, he's doing it this season with Leyton Orient. And it is a big game for us. I mean, the next 15 are all cup finals for me. There's a point later on in Fan Focus about how many of the next 15 do we need to win to cement the playoff spot. But we'll move on to that a little bit later on.
15 games remain, is that right? 45 points up for grabs. 10 points behind second place. Let's look at let's look ahead to this weekend's game and get the old stats on.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Get Stats On with the Statman. Of course, this segment of the show is sponsored by Jen Louise Salmon, a local mortgage and protection broker. And you all know the line by now. If you're buying a gaff, give her a bell. But anyway, we'll move on to the footy. And you're playing Leyton Orient on the weekend. They actually have another game midweek against Wrexham. And they could go as high as 5th if they win that game. And if they don't, they'll probably stay 6th or end up 7th, maybe. But still, they're a decent side. Let's not kid ourselves. And, they gave City a game the other week as well, didn't they? So, yeah, this won't be an easy game. The gaffer is called Richie Wellens. He's actually got a kid in footy as well. I only know that because he was an academy player at United. I'm pretty sure. I think he plays for Reading now, just the 21s, though. But anyway, that doesn't matter, obviously. But anyway, he has managed them for 158 games, won 77, lost 50 and drawn 31, which is pretty decent for moving up the leagues. They won League 2 in 2023, and they're still on the up. Wouldn't surprise me if they end up in the Championship in a few years, if not this year, potentially in the playoffs. Who knows? But they're a decent team anyway. They're definitely better at home than away from home, though, which is obviously the case with most teams, but that is quite interesting because you're playing them at Bolton. They've conceded 3 more goals away from home than at home, which sounds like nothing, obviously. But when you learn that they've played 4 more games at home than away from home, it becomes quite interesting because they score a lot of goals. Let's put that right, but they concede a lot of goals away from home. Or maybe not a lot, but a lot more than normal anyway. And if you are going to beat them, it's probably not going to be at home. It is going to be away from home. So this is your best chance here. It tends to be a very close game, no matter where they play, really, if it's not going in their favour. And if they play away from home, then could go down to the wire. I expect a few goals in this game, so my apologies for the 0-0 incoming. They are 7th in the league for average possession, and you are 2nd, so it'll be quite interesting to see who has more of the ball. But that tends to point for a game that's going to be decided on the transition, and we'll come on to why that is crucial in just a second. But yeah, the transition point could be another reason to play the back 5 this game, and probably until the end of the season, to be honest. But anyway. The first for clean sheets. So, it will not be an easy game, but the keeper's got a little bit of a point in him. I'm going to come on to that in just a sec. But overall, they are very defensively sound. And as I've said, this will not be an easy game. When they've not got the ball, they don't tend to make very many interceptions at all. Quite very low down in the league for that. But they are top of the league for possession won in the final third. So, they are going to be pressing you incredibly high, and they're not going to give you a sniff when you're trying to play out. Like, they will not give you a second at all to think. So, to be honest, it's probably just going to be worth going long, which you have done a bit more under Schumacher. But, I'd keep it as far away from your goal as possible. But when they are pressing, they tend to leave a lot of space in behind. So, we'll move on to this first screenshot here. And this is from the game against Lincoln. And number 45 and number 4 are their centre-backs. And you can see just how high up they're playing. You got to think that's their average position for the whole game. The space in between them and the keeper is absolutely massive. And the space in between each other as well. Like, there is a lot of space in the middle there. So, there's definitely something you can capitalise on there. On the transition is the key point. We'll move on to the next screenshots. Hopefully there's going to be 2 on the screen here at the same time. If not, the Statman's had a mare trying to edit this. And it just shows how aggressively they press. Because the Leyton Orient player, he is literally straight on the loose touch. And you can't quite see it in the screenshots. But he carries dribbling for a little bit and then he finds the pass. And it's a cracking pass and they score, to be fair. So, their press is what makes them so hard to play against. So, as I've said many times in this preview, this will not be an easy game. But, and this is the thing I was talking about with the keeper. I'm not going to show you a screenshot because I can't really explain it in a screenshot. And if I show you a video, we're just going to get copyright strike. So you'll have to bear with, right? When their keeper, when he makes a save, he doesn't palm it wide, right? It tends to come back to... Not necessarily to the guy who struck the ball, but it tends to stay in the box. And if you look, just go have a look at, after this podcast, the goals in the Leyton Orient versus Lincoln game. The Lincoln goals are because the keeper doesn't palm it wide, or he doesn't get it wide. He doesn't push out for a corner or for a throw-in. It stays very close to him. And to be fair to him, the saves in the Lincoln game, they're both quite hard saves, but it's definitely something to capitalise on. I mean, you get taught this when you're like 6, when you're playing footy. Someone has a shot, you follow it up. These basics of football, but that will be... Statman guarantee you will score a goal from that, hopefully, if it's not 0-0. Anyway, I'll let you enjoy the rest of the podcast, and I will try to stop jinxing you. My apologies. And I'm sure I'll see you very soon. Goodbye.
Cut short. Don't know why. I didn't do that. Must have been an issue with StreamYard, our provider. Who knows? Takeaways from that. High press. I think for me that possibly, backs up our theory of Mr. Schumacher being a proper manager, because that may explain why Sheehan didn't play yesterday, because obviously his ability to be able to dictate the play from them deeper areas couldn't be really advantageous, I'm guessing, against Leyton Orient.
Test the keeper was my takeaway from that. Test
that as well. Keeper. Yeah. How do you feel we set up, Dan, against Orient? Do you think we just do our own thing and just, try and beat them by doing what we're good at? Or do you think we set up in a slightly different way, maybe play, Collins off the left and Vic maybe starts, because he's obviously got, if we are going to go long into the channels, possibly. What do you reckon?
Sorry,
have you dropped your back, or is everything all right?
I just heard you say
you're right, Vic.
I just heard you say Vic start then, and that just sent me west. What? Sorry, what?
Well, I'm just putting it out there to the chat and yourself. How do you reckon we start?
I don't know if this is a touch of arrogance, but we're at home. I wouldn't be thinking about who it is. I'd be just doing our own thing. Into any team that comes to the Fortress Reebok should be fearing us, not the other way around. If we play to our strengths at home on that big pitch, we win. It's as simple as that. I would potentially go similar to what he finished with yesterday in terms of the side, without Adebayo, of course. But I'd probably go, with the three with the two wing backs, and then pack the midfield with Sheehan, Morley, Matete, and then play Collins and McAtee up front.
Who's he advancing out of the three midfielders mentioned then? Morley?
Yeah. I think he's a lot better when he gets forward. Yesterday, it held him back, I think, being in that deeper role. He's better off in that advancing position for me. Sheehan's better on the pivot. He's good. And, Matete yesterday, he had a really, really solid game. I think did a lot of dirty work well, unsung hero. I think that them three would be the main three for me in the midfield. Is Thomason back from suspension, or has he got one more? I think he's got one more, hasn't he?
No, he's back.
Is he back? So he doesn't get back in. But equally, I think that's good, because I don't think that he deserves to get back in, not from his own performances, but just the way that the team has been playing. So it's good to have competition for places, and that you don't come back from suspension and get straight back in the side, which then will give people and players food for thought about making them rash challenges or stupid decisions to get themselves yellows or red cards, which is
and also, the captain doesn't get back straight into the side after the suspension. That makes people think, doesn't it? So that's that as well, I guess. But of course, a win on Saturday will put us on 53 points if results go our way. I know Huddersfield play Tuesday, I think, ironically, against Shrewsbury, from what I know. Hopefully Shrewsbury do us a favour on Tuesday night. Hey, listen, going off what we saw in that first half yesterday, and going off the way that Huddersfield have been playing recently. I know obviously they managed to beat Barnsley yesterday, but there's every chance they can do us a favour, I reckon, on Tuesday. But yeah, potentially, we could end up going 5th on Saturday, close of play, which would be wonderful, wouldn't it? Let's be honest. And a great start, I think, to Schumacher's reign. I've been done here, but catch the week time. If you give it, you got to be able to take it. And this is what makes Twitter or X the best platform there is. Because I'm always obviously looking to wind people up. And Mr. Penguin has got me good and proper. And my idea behind the water post that I put out yesterday was obviously just to highlight the fact that everybody posts a picture of warm cider on away days and crap lager and all the rest of it. And I just thought, you know what? I'm having a water. But the eagle-eyed amongst you, and of course Mr. Penguin, spotted that I have some luxurious Bolton Wanderers Football Club mats in my car. And they are nice. I'd encourage anybody to jump on the official website and purchase some if you are that way inclined. But Mr. Penguin posted me. Your dad has Bolton car mats and doesn't put his feet on the badge out of respect, obviously, in in homage to that daft rule that all the footballers do these days when they walk around the badges. Listen, he done me good and proper. You got to give credit where credit's due. Fair play. I think he's had about nearly 750,000 views and 11,000 likes, so he's actually well and truly done me good and proper there.
Ditched you right up.
Yeah, good times. Yeah, good
Excellent.
times.
Things you'd love to see.
Things you love to see. Like I said, if you give it, you got to be able to take it. But it is, isn't it? It's just it's all laughing it.
And you've got the thickest skin in the world.
Well, we're here for a good time, aren't we? You know,
we are.
You know what I mean? That's what it's all about, isn't it? I want to give a little nod to their Latino America friends watching the Super Whites against Shrewsbury Town in a bar in Argentina. I think it was the capital that they lived, don't they? Our Argentinian friends, when everybody else wanted to watch City and all the Premier League teams. So fair play. Did you see the Mexican post, Dan? Are you on Twitter? You're in and out like you change your socks, aren't you? Are you on it now? Or are you back off it? What's going on there?
I got it, and then one night I went to bed and woke up in the morning and someone hacked in and put 2-factor authentication on my account and I can't get back in. So I've just left it alone. But no, I didn't see it until you created this post earlier today. But that's great inside a sports shop in deep, dark Mexico to have the... is it the match? It won't be the match from yesterday because it's the Reebok, isn't it? But just to have a picture of the stadium.
Picture the Reebok, yeah, in the backdrop with a Puma advertising board going around the stadium, which I don't think I've ever seen before. But maybe they just like the look of the ground and they just utilised that and edited it themselves. I'm not sure.
It's blue sky as well, so that can't be something very recent, can it? So
yeah, it's been edited, that, isn't it? I reckon, maybe. And Wes is having a drink out of a shoe for Shuey, which I thought was pretty amusing. So play after a few scoops yesterday on the way back from Shrewsbury. So yeah, a couple of posts that I thought might lighten the mood a little bit, and hopefully I'll be able to get us straight back into the overlay. Boom. So without Chris this week, we've got the Fanzone Fan Focus, rename the Fanzone Dan Focus. Over to you, good sir.
Yes, thanks very much to everybody that responded to our earlier tweet on X with regards to this week's Fan Focus. If you've not done that yet and you want some talking points, please put them in the chat. We'll look to get around as many as we possibly can during this segment. But I'm going to start tonight with one that we touched on earlier, and it's friend of the show, Connor Vickers, who said, with 15 games to go and 45 points up for grabs, how many wins / how many points are required to cement that playoff place? Last season, to give you a bit of context, Barnsley finished 6th on 76 points. So therefore, I think at the moment, are we on 50. So
On the
we will
nose.
need, so we'll need 26 points in order to match last season's total. So again, 45 points up for grabs. How many wins / points do you feel that we'll need, Col, Ange?
Well, is second place completely out of the equation? 10 points behind it? Or am I dreaming?
I just think we'd be relying on them. We'd be relying on them massively dropping, wouldn't we? I don't know what their running looks like either. I've not really looked properly what they've got.
I mean, 10 points. 10 points doesn't sound like a lot, though, does it? Do you know what I mean?
No, it doesn't.
Like,
if you think of the situation we were in,
yeah,
and then fell off that cliff after Christmas.
Exactly.
So it's not impossible. It's football. Anything can happen. We know that.
Yeah, I think what people are saying around the 10 wins, 8, 9, 10 wins, something like that. I think that'd do us, wouldn't it? And I think 15 games to go. You'd expect us to do that, wouldn't you?
Well, we've won 4 in 5, haven't we? Won 4, lost 1. So if we carry on through that trajectory, we'll win 12, won't we? So I would say 8 to 9, couple of draws. The main thing is we've got a difficult run of fixtures, haven't we, into March? Even the next 3 are quite tough, aren't they? Leighton Orient, Wrexham, Birmingham, the next 3.
I'm sorry, but they only look difficult, them fixtures. They look difficult when Ian Everett were in charge and we were on a slump. If we're winning football matches, to me, they don't look difficult.
I was just about to say,
I don't know whether anybody agrees with that or not.
Well, I do. I agree with you entirely because I was, again, to come back to the point I made before, we're at home in 2 of those games. So for me, they should come and fear us. And if last week's Tuesday night Pizza Car Trophy match was anything to go by, how Wrexham are challenging the automatic promotion spots is beyond me. It's just kick and rush.
I mean, it was a weekend. They had played a weekend side, didn't they? So it's not what they played in the league. But yeah, no, they're very parky ball. It's very parky ball.
Absolutely. But no, I think Brad's right there. I think we've got to be looking at least 7 from the next 3, haven't we? We need to try and. But we are going to lose football matches over the next 15. Let's not shy away from that. But I think now moving forwards, as you rightly said, Cole, I think moving into this new regime and new era under Schumacher, I think that teams will start to fear us a lot more than we will fear them.
My only concern is the lack of a number 9. But I guess that's why yesterday, for McAtee's confidence, and let's be fair, he's got the ability to be able to play up top. It's just what that up top looks like. Would he be suited as like a bit of a false 9? Would that work? I don't know.
Well, early on in the season, didn't he? Everett seemed to pair them up early season, didn't he? He had Adebayo and Charles and McAtee and Collins, and it was, I think, a couple of games on the spin where them 2 came off the bench and scored goals or assisted each other and had a bit of an impact. So it's them 2 that really need to now, given there's not much else to challenge them with Ateti being injured and Adebayo obviously not being up to it. I think that them 2 could really, really make and stake a claim to be the front 2. And it's up to them 2 to really make them shirts their own now. I know Collins has obviously done that in terms of the goals and the performances put in, but he seems to be going through a bit of a dip at the minute. But I think someone said earlier on in the chat that now McAtee's got the same amount of league goals that Collins has. So there's no reason why them 2 can't cement that play, that them places as the front 2, if indeed we play a front 2 or just off.
I have a bit of a theory on that Ateti, mate. I don't, for some reason, something's telling me I don't think he's as injured as they're making out. I think they've put him in early. It's not gone well. He's obviously done something slight, and I think they're trying to take him out of the firing line a little bit and protect him a little bit. Me personally, I think we'll see him earlier than they've said in that respect. Just because if you remember when he did his interview when he first signed, I think even the interviewer said that. That the plan on kind of bringing him in slowly type of thing. I just think because obviously he's been getting a lot of stick on it, which is ridiculous to be honest. After 20 minutes, I think just take him at the firing line a little bit and get him fit, and then get him rocking. I reckon that'll be what the idea is personally with that one. Again, no substance to that, just a theory really.
That absolutely segues perfectly into our next comment from a good friend of mine, Boothie. who's responded to the tweet again. If you've not had your say, please put it in the chat and we will try and get around to sharing it. And there has been a little bit of this in our little WhatsApp group as well. But do we think fans are ridiculously quick to judge players and not give them a fair chance to settle at the club? The negativity towards many players now Everett has gone hasn't gone away, with yesterday being a prime example. So before we get into this, can we just ask in the chat, how many games is enough games to form a judgment of a player? For me,
well, it depends on loads of circumstances.
For me, 8 to 10 games is enough to form a judgment on a player. It's 20% of the season, pretty much.
You gave him Randall 3 to 4, man.
Well, I've given him 8 now, and he's still. Yesterday, I'd have hooked him at half time. Absolutely dreadful again. But we won't go there. But yeah,
I think you should answer that question. You should answer your mate's own question.
You just said it. 8 to 10. 8 to 10 games is more than enough to form a judgment.
No, that wasn't the question, though, was it?
Yeah, it was.
Read your question again.
Yeah, do you think fans are ridiculously quick to judge players? Well, it depends, doesn't it? It depends on the amount of games you quit. If people are judging a Tete after 20 minutes, then yes, of course they are. But the fact that my favourite, that number 31 that's playing in David Wheater's shirt, has now played 8 games for us and done absolutely rock all, apart from be a powder puff. Oh, it just winds me up.
And a goal and an assist, but we won't mention that.
That's one tap-in and one pass.
It doesn't matter. They all count.
Yeah, but it's still, that's it in 8 appearances. Adebayo had a hat-trick against Fleetwood. Give him the Ballon d'Or. Do you know what I mean?
Unbelievable scenes. I don't know what you mean, to be honest. No, I don't. That's the whole point.
Well, a lot of people agree with me, so.
Plenty of all I'll say on that matter is plenty of players, and I could list probably one as long as my arm, have come in, look crap, and then after X amount of time, they're far from crap. Gotta give players time.
There's quite a few Wanderers in recent years where they'd not even worn the shirt, and fans on Twitter had written them off. There was a goalkeeper that we got from Man City on loan that had a bit of a howler and a bit of a shocker at Accrington, right? And he was written off before he came in. A certain right back for Liverpool that came in and was written off because he wasn't Marlon Fossey. And Bodvarsson was another one. People had seen his stats and wrote him off before he'd appeared. But yeah, we do have to give players time. And on the Randall situation, I'll happily be proven wrong. Happily be proven wrong. I'll happily go over and give him a big hug at the end of season awards if he provides the goods between now and the end of the season. But so far, after 8 games, in my opinion, he's far from done that.
He needs better players around him, that kid. That's my take on the matter. You can rub your ball head as much as you want. That's fact. His brain's too quick to play.
I think you've just got massive hair envy. You've got massive hair envy, Dan.
Probably that. And looks envy as well, Ange. Let's be honest. It's not just her envy, is it? It's looks envy as well, isn't it?
That's what it is. You fancy him. If I've got looks envy, it's Josh Sheehan, isn't it? You ask HR.
Don't get HR side on Josh.
Let's move on.
What's next, Dan? What's next?
Right, let's move on to that one. So we'll go back to our man of the match, Mr. McAtee. And BBWFC714 is in the chat tonight, has said that our friend, Mr. Voles, the elusive Voles, every time we ask him to appear, never does. So is he a real person?
He's a busy guy. He's a busy guy.
Very busy guy.
Very busy guy.
What is John McAtee and what does he offer? What role should he be playing to get the best out of him? Personally, UFC714 thinks he's best as the second striker and plays up front to support the main striker. He's wasted as a lone striker. Totally agree with that. A winger or a number 10. So what do we think is the best position to get out of Mr. McAtee?
I think that false 9 type of position, me personally, or just or as a 9 in general, like you're saying. Because if you look at what he did at Barnsley last season, I think what did he finish on? Was it 15 he got last season or something? I'm not sure. He played off Devante Cole and our mate Cosgrove, didn't he? He produced the goods, so maybe we'll see him playing off a big man in the future. Who knows? But I think that's possibly what he's best at. But again, we've only seen him for just over half a season, haven't we? So we've got a lot more. We've got a lot more to see of him, haven't we? I think, and then 2 goals at the weekend kind of prove that, didn't it?
What do you think, Ange?
Yeah, no, similar. Support striker. I was sitting just behind. He played as a lone striker against Crawley, didn't he? And it just wasn't. It didn't suit him. So yeah, I think he buddies off a bit of a partnership. And for me, yeah, I'd say second striker or just sat just behind Aaron, I would say.
Yeah, and that's where it comes back to me that them two, that if they now can stake a claim to form that kind of partnership, Collins has clearly got the eye for goal, as McAtee seems to have found now. But I think that McAtee is kind of more of a supporting striker, which is what Collins needs. All right, neither of them have got the physicality that we kind of need to hold the ball up. But as you rightly said earlier, Colin, his back to goal stuff in that second half yesterday was a lot better. And hopefully that's...
I think long term, though, I'm just thinking about it. Long term, you can maybe see him more, not as a winger, but more of a right-sided forward, or with Collins off the left as a left-sided forward, switching through in game and having more of a focal number 9. I'm talking in the future, next season or whatever, when we manage to kind of secure that kind of player. I can see them two playing off the sides a little bit. Do you know what I mean? In certain games, because Collins played off the left for Bristol Rovers, didn't he? And were pretty successful though, weren't he?
Yeah, I think I remember him playing off the left as well for... McAtee playing off the right for Barnsley as well in a few of the games. In a few of the 50s.
Yeah. Aaron always drifts out to that left side, always.
Because he's a wizard at cutting in on with that right foot, isn't he? There was a Garnacho strike early on in that game tonight with against Tottenham, and I just thought if that was Colin, he'd have buried it. But yeah, I think we're getting to the stage where we're seeing that we need that potent number 9, aren't we? And I just hope to God it doesn't cost us this season. I mean, we've got more than enough in our ranks to cement that playoff place. But for me, there'd be two things that potentially would cost us promotion this year, or I think, as Malk said earlier on, I think given the squad, a playoff place should pretty much be a given, and that's not, again, is it a touch of arrogance or is it just an expectancy, or are we looking through white tinted glasses? But I think that should be pretty much a given at the moment. I just think there'll probably be 2 things that could cost us.
I think as soon as we appointed Schumacher, I think Gab sort of said we'll get 5th. We'll cement a playoff spot now with him in charge. So, I mean, Gab's he's not exactly an oracle, but he's a very well educated and understands the level of, as a guy who works in the game type of thing. So that's something to go off, I think, in many respects.
Yeah. Okay. And just one final point on Fan Focus is, again, friend of the show Jack Cook has said, with the imminent departure, although not been confirmed by the club yet, but Mr. Isles has said it about Mr. Markham leaving. Will that give Mr. Schumacher more free rein? Will he then eventually become manager as opposed to this head coach that they've been banding around? Again, there's been a mixed opinion on whether him going is good or not. Everything comes to an end. I think he's part of the old regime, so he needs to move on with that regime. And I think we did a segment, didn't we, a few pods ago about the amount of the signings since that 21-22 season, and I think he's not exactly covered himself in glory, really, with the exception of that Bradley Trafford.
I think it's difficult in it. Let's remind ourselves once again, and for the 400th time, and me more than anybody needs reminding, we're a League One team. So with that comes you signing League One players. So I think that recruitment strategy is very, very, very difficult to kind of narrow in terms of getting them right players for this level, because you're fishing from a very strange pond, aren't you? You want players of certain quality to get you promoted, but do they want to play in the 3rd tier? Do they feel that they're good enough to play in the Championship? Probably. You might be getting players that you maybe your 2nd or 3rd choices. It's a very difficult thing to get right, in my opinion. But to answer your question, Dan, I don't think him leaving will mean that Schumacher gets full reign. That's not the way football works anymore. There's a structure to football teams and football clubs up and down the land where coaches are there to coach. Managers don't have that, or very rarely at the higher levels anyway, especially have that full control. I think he just wants somebody in place who he knows that he can trust. Simple as that.
Yeah.
We've got Ludinotics as well, haven't we, to provide the statistics and analytics around it. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see who comes in.
Yeah, I mean, as well, it's I've always wondered what the big difference is between head coach and manager. Because Everett started as head coach and then became manager, didn't he? And the big reference in Schumacher is head coach. What is the difference?
I think the clue's in the title, though, isn't it, Dan? The coaches are ones that are on the grass. Yeah, but Everett didn't know whether they were coming or going, did he? He said it himself. He was a manager, he was a coach, he was a manager. And I think the managers are the ones that kind of have more control, which are very rare.
He's always been a head coach, hasn't he, as well, Shuey? He's always had that title. For me, I think it makes him a bit more relatable with the players. He's coaching them in training. He ain't letting other people do it while he sits in the office and comes up with, do you know what I mean? I just feel a manager in the... It's only a title, isn't it? But it's a psychological thing.
Yeah, and just to make reference there for those that are listening on audio, BWFC 714 is very much on the pulse with all this sort of stuff. Thank you very much for that. But Neil Dewsnip left Plymouth in January as director of football. He was there when Schumacher was manager, and he could be the ideal replacement. Maybe that could be the way we're going. Maybe we could be looking at bringing Mr. Dewsnip.
I think Neil Dewsnip is local as well. I think he's another Liverpoolian. If I'm thinking of the same bloke. Which, I'm guessing he'll therefore live local, and that might make sense.
And Matt Rushton there has just backed up what we were saying earlier, hasn't he, about a manager has a full reign over all aspects of the squad. Head coach focused on the pitch side operation and leaves recruitment primarily to a DOF, which could mean that Neil Dewsnip comes in. Let's watch this space. But as far as fan focus, that's me.
Yeah, thank you very much to the 204 people that have watched and listened to the podcast tonight. Please, just click that little tick, that little thumbs up, whatever it is, just to say thank you. It doesn't cost you a penny, of course. It's just a bit of recognition for the job that we do. Because it's a big effort in many ways running the podcast, and a little bit of recognition goes a long way. So we do very much appreciate that. Thank you very much to Dan. Have a good evening, Dan. What's left of it?
Right.
Thank you very much, Ange. Let's look forward to a massive game next Saturday at the Tough Sheet Community Reebok Stadium. Come on, you Whites.